knowledge?
We read books, novels, letters, paragraphs, etc.
Yes. Rashmi says she reads novels, paragraphs, letters, novels, and let's see, yes, textbooks, and let's see what are the other sources that we read for information. We as students as well as academics, we read autobiographies, we read speeches of famous people and research reports, government documents like circulars, as well as scholarly articles to get some information. Yes, what do good readers do? Usually, good readers follow different strategies. And what can you do to become a better reader? You may be having your own strategies. There are fast readers, there are some loud readers, there are slow readers. There are different types of readers among us. Let's see what are the strategies that we can follow to become a better reader. Yes, once you get a text or an article or a paragraph, before reading, you can question what you are going to read and what is the importance of reading this text and what type of information will I be able to get after reading this. You can question yourself before reading. That questioning helps you to get more information. And also, you can visualize. Although without reading the rest of the paragraph or the article, by visualizing a picture, visualizing a mental picture, you will be able to get a better comprehension about the text that you are reading. Sometimes the pictures are very important. Pictures tells you 1,000 words. Rather than a lengthy paragraph, pictures are really helpful for you to understand the text. And let's see next. You can predict. Yes, Anjali. I think you will tell me. What do you mean by prediction?
What will happen next? Who will die? Is it a happy ending?
Yes. What did you say?
What will happen?
Prediction mean?
What
Yes.
will happen next?
Yes. What will happen next? Because you are very curious to know the rest of the story. So you predict on what will happen next. What will be the next event? Will the hero die? Or whether it will be a happy ending or a sad ending. You try to predict yourself before reading the text to the end. Also, you can connect the knowledge that is given in the text with your own experience. If you see the connection, perhaps there may be a story which is very closer to the story in the text itself. So, I think prediction also and connection will also be helpful for you to get a better understanding about the text. Right. We'll see the last strategy that we can follow to become a good reader. You can respond to the text. Once you read the text, after reading, you can draw a picture, or what the text describe, you can draw a cartoon, or else you can make a summary of it. You can get the gist of it, or else can draw a graph based on the information given on the text. These strategies will be very much helpful for you to become a better reader, fast reader. So let's move on to the strategies in detail. Question what you read. You can read. Before reading, you can question by yourself. You can question yourself, what are the characters? What are the places? What are the important dates? What are the important events that I may come across in this text? If you question yourself, you are well aware that you are going to find answers to the questions, because you raise some questions within yourself and you are going to answer the questions. So, to answer the questions, you are very keen on the text. So, you get an interest towards the text. So, we will see what questions come to your mind. If you are going to questions, let's look at the questions that raises by yourself. Yes. Will you read aloud?
Where did this happen? When did this occur? Who was involved? Why did this occur? What happened as a result? What other choices were possible? How does this affect others?
You get lot of questions. Once you get questions, you try to find answers, and once you have questions, you have an interest towards the text. Yes. Again, look at the next thing. Why do the characters as they do? You may find some characters in the text and you tend to think, why do they react? Are they very friendly? Are they very aggressive? Angry type, always getting angry. Whether you can have an idea about the characters. Characters are so important, and you tend to become friendly with those characters. And again, who tells the story? Sometimes the writer, he himself tells the story to you. He becomes the first person. And sometimes there is another person telling the story. He is also a character in that story, not the main character, but he look at the story in a different way. Sometimes the story is told to you by a totally outsider. He gives his own views and ideas to the text. There may be different people telling stories. Yes. Again, you have an idea. You need to get an idea. What causes, what events will happen? Then only you try to maintain your interest. That is why you tend to read novels at a stretch. Right? Because once you maintain the interest toward the text, you tend to finish it off. So, as there are 2-3 paragraphs, you need to maintain the same interest until to the end of the paragraph. If you read the paragraph halfway through and if you are fed up, you won't be able to answer the rest of the questions given in the paper. So you need to maintain your interest. Yes, visualizing. As I told you, you need to visualize. Maybe the places, maybe the people, maybe the events, and you are trying, if you are trying to create a mental picture, that will help you to, that will facilitate you to understand the text better. That will be really helpful if you are trying to develop a mental picture. Yes, prediction. As Anjali told, she told, what is prediction? Yes, what will happen next? Who will die? Is it a happy ending or a sad ending? You can predict. We are discussing more on the prediction. What do you think will happen? That helps you to, again, to create the interest. Because you tend to go on reading the text. Otherwise, if you lose the interest towards the beginning or in the middle of the paragraph, you will stop reading. So, that will affect. That will be affecting your answering. Because you will answer only the first part of your questions and the rest of the question will remain. Sometimes we have found that you have kept blanks. Sometimes you copy the whole paragraph onto the answer sheet. That's very wrong because you need to get the specific information. Right? Because I think that is a trick maintained by the students. Once they are given a question, they tend to seek for the answer. They copy the whole paragraph onto the answer sheet. That's very wrong. So we'll see. Foreshadowing means, again, prediction. You will be able to predict what will happen, what will be the next event. Will there be clashes? Or the main character, will he die or will he be safe? Like, once you have questions and once you answer the questions mentally, you develop your interest to read the text. As I told you earlier, the connection with the text, with your own experience is very much important. That makes the text familiar to you. Once a situation is given, you tend to think of your own experience and you try to see the link, try to see the connection. Then it is easy for you to understand the text very much. If that experience is your own experience, maybe an experience that you gained when you were schooling, maybe an experience that you gained while you were going on a trip, That will help you to understand the text better. So let's see how you are going to respond to your text. Earlier also I told you that you can respond to a text in different ways. What are the ways that you can respond to a text? You can draw a picture, you can draw a cartoon, you can write the summary, you can draw a flow chart. Likewise, there are different ways of responding to a text. Or else you can tell one of your friends the information that you gain from the text itself. There are many ways that you can respond to the text. What is the theme of the story? What is the theme of this text is very important. For that, you need to get the big picture. To get the big picture, you need to read the whole text. Not only once, at least 3 times. We advise students to read the text for 3 times. First reading, you will get information, but after second reading, you can start writing answers. In the third reading, you can check your answers. That is how we usually advise the students when they come across reading passages. Yes, in a reading text, the heading or the title itself gives you an idea. The title gives you a clue on what you are going to read. Maybe about if it is a scientific topic, you know that is something based on science. If it is something geography, you know from the title itself, it gives you an idea of the text. Vocabulary, the kinds of words used to give information. For example, if it is an article about global warming, yes, those are the words can be found in the text. Environmentalist, carbon footprint, greenhouse gases, sustainability, because from the word itself, the words give you a clue to guess the article about. From the topic as well as the words that are commonly found in the text will be helpful for you to understand or just to get an idea of the text before you go on reading. Understand? So let's see what are the other clues that you can get. Yes, the attitude of the writer is important. You know, I told you that the story is told by the writer itself, or else somebody engaged in the scene, or else a total outsider may write the story. And the attitude of that person will make the whole text in 2 different ways. Possibly if the writer talk for the text, or maybe he doesn't like the text and he may talk against, for or against. That shows his or her own attitudes. So the attitudes are important. Totally brilliant, absolutely ridiculous, complete nonsense, right? Straightforward, common senses. From the words themselves, also you will have an idea. If it is complete nonsense, will you tend to read it? No, but it depends. There are readers who like nonsensical reading. There are some readers, they do academic reading. It depends on your choices, likes and dislikes. Right. If the writer develops an argument, there are some writers, they do not go on writing the text. They question. And that question helps you to think. Sometimes once you go on and on reading, you forget. Then suddenly the writer has raised the question. Sometimes you tend to read twice and you tend to seek for the specific information. And you tend to answer the writer. If he raises a question, you seek for answers. The author will use points to develop their argument. Look for discourse markers. In the text, there are discourse markers like on the contrary, what is more on this paragraph? And another thing, as a result of this, in conclusion, like there are discourse markers that will help you to think whether the writer is for the text or against. So his attitudes are built up as an argument. These argumentative ideas are really important to think about the text twice. Let's see what are the things that you should do before reading a text. Imagine you are given a reading text which is not familiar to you, and what are the steps that you should follow before reading. Think if you will be reading to find out what happens in a story or to learn specific information, first thing you have to look at the title. You have to look at the title and look at the pictures. As I told you earlier, pictures describe 1,000 words. Rather than reading whole paragraphs, pictures are really important. And also captions, eye-catching words and phrases will help you to have an idea before reading the text. Boldface, print and other graphs, all the strategies that are applied in the text will be helpful for you to get an idea about the text or the article or the paragraph before you start reading. So you can guess what the article will be. So let's move on to the next. Think about what you already know about the connect of what you will read. Again, the same thing I am repeating. You need to see the connections. You need to see the connection with the paragraph and your own experience. Predict. Think what might happen in the story. What words may be used or what information the text might contain. You are new to the paragraph. You do not know anything about the paragraph, yet you can have a good guess. Try to guess on what will be on the text. So let's see the other strategies. During reading, earlier steps I discussed was before reading. Now while reading, what are the techniques or strategies that you can follow to become a good reader. Because the purpose of this lesson is to make you a better reader. Right? We'll see, to make a better reader, what are the strategies that we can follow while reading. Yes, please read. Check one cue with another. Ask yourself, does this word look right, sound right, and make sense? And you can reread. If you do not understand the text, you can stop reading and go to the beginning and you can reread. Do you understand? Or else, yes, what are the other things you can do to make the text familiar to you? Yes, we'll get together and read. Connect background knowledge to the information in the text. Yes, go on reading.
What you already know about the subject, what kind of material you are reading. Think about how the information is similar to what you already know about the topic, event or person.
It's like, that means you are going to make the text familiar to your experience. There are certain things that you can do to make the text familiar to your experience. For that, you need to connect background knowledge to the information in the text. Yes, you can predict and confirm. It's another strategy you do to make the text comprehensive. Yes, shall we read it?
Ask yourself, what word do I expect to see? What do I think will happen next? Did that make sense? Or am I finding the answers to this topic?
Yes. Once there are questions, once you predict, you will be finding answer to the questions. So those are very helpful. Sometimes some readers, they skip. They read only the parts that are appealing to you. If they are not interested, what do? They skip that paragraphs. Sometimes, once you read novels, do you do the same thing? First chapters, sometimes you skip 1 or 2 chapters, then you tend to read the last. Because you are so curious, and so as you are interested towards the novel, you tend to read the first chapter and the last. There are certain things that you follow. Even though you skip those paragraphs, you try to build up your own story. You don't feel the gap. But in your question papers, I do not encourage you to follow that method. You need to read from the beginning to the end. Not once, but 2 or 3 times. Then only you will get the better understanding. If not, you will miss some parts. So let's see. After reading, once you finish your reading, what can you do? Yes?
Summarize. Tell someone or write what happened in the story, including characters, plot, and important events. If you read a notification piece, review what information was presented.
Right. After reading, you can retell. You will be able to retell the story to your friend. If you read well, you know the characters, you know the incidents, you know the places and important dates. And you will be able to tell the story to your friend. without missing any part of it, right? But for novels and all that, I know that you are veteran in that field. You can retell the story in a better way. But in academic reading, in reading lengthy paragraphs, you tend to skip, which you should not follow. And tell someone, oh, write. Sometimes it's a good thing that you can practice. After you read a lengthy paragraph, you try to summarize it. That is a strategy. That is a, I think, strategy or technique that is checked, skill. That is a skill which is tested on your paper. Summary writing. Imagine the text is of 300 words. The summary should be 1/3 of the full text. That means 100 words. Maybe 95 words or 105 words. So that is another skill that you need to develop, and that is a sub-skill. After reading only, you will develop that summarizing skill. And also, if you are going to tell the story to somebody else's, you need to include the characters, plot, the series, the incidents, and important events. Also, you should be able to give a very good picture to the person who hasn't read the article or the novel or whatever before. If you are a good reader, you will be able to create a very beautiful mental picture on the person who listens to the story, right? Yes, to do so, to make the reader aware, to make the listener aware, because you are going to retell the story to somebody else who hasn't read the article or the text. So what are the things that you can follow? You can use a graphic organizer, use a story map, biography, Venn diagrams, or other way to show what was included in what you read. You may need to check with your teacher for suggestions. Right? Sometimes you may miss better thing. What you can do is you can ask the teacher. If you are to write a summary, you better check. That is a skill, very essential skill for A-level students. You read the text at least for 3 times, then get the gist of it and start writing the summary. Summary, of course, 1/3 of the total paragraph, and you should be able to retell the whole thing, the information that are given in the paragraph in your own words. You are not going to write the same thing on the paragraph. You just cannot get the same information from the text given. What you should do is, you first read the text, you get the idea, then start writing. Writing of your own words. Yes. How do you draw conclusions? You need to draw conclusions. Whether you are going to respond to the text. Yes. Let's read on it.
Think about what predictions you made before and during reading. Look back and think about what you have read. Consider how the information read relates to what you already knew about the topic. Were your questions answered? Do you have more questions about the subject?
Yes. Right? Think about what predictions. Before reading you had some predictions. after reading, you think of your earlier predictions, right? Will you be able to achieve your predictions, or are they different? Yes, you were predicting before reading as well as while reading, and the text is something different, totally different. That means your predictions were totally wrong. And look back and think about what you have read. Consider how the information relates to what you already know. That means the way that you try to connect it with your own experience. And also, the information are already known by you. That means if you are very familiar with the information, sometimes you lose the interest. Sometimes you lose the interest. If you have read the article 2-3 times, you never tend to read it again. And were your questions answered? Can you remember? Before reading, you start questioning. What will be the next event? What will happen? Likewise, there were set of questions that you raised before you reading the text. And were you able to answer these questions? Right? And do you have more questions about the subject? And there will be some other questions based on the text. Yes, if you do not understand, what you can do is you can reread, and or else you can discuss and talk to your friend, and you can ask, did you understand the passage? And this is the idea that I got. What about yours? Likewise, you can have a discussion with your friends for better understanding. Try to support understanding and write about what you have read, telling what it made you think or what you learned. You can write what you got from the text. Yes, to improve reading strategies, I will be repeating what we learned earlier. Yes, these are the top 10 reading strategies. Yes, will you read quickly?
Connect to the text, ask questions, expand vocabulary, predict and prove, sense it, decide what's important.
Yes, connect to the text, ask questions, expand vocabulary, predict and prove, sense it, and decide what's important. Yes, there are more. Top 10. Yes, what is the 7th?
Make inferences that draw conclusions, summarize and synthesize,
Yes.
check your understanding, build fluency.
Yes. What are the techniques? These are the techniques that you can use to make the reading better. Scan, to look over quickly. You know, for some passages, we don't read the whole thing and we just quickly go through the information. Maybe the important dates, maybe the people. Sometimes our readers, what they do is they circle the names. Sometimes they box the important dates. Sometimes they underline the important places. Once they see the questions, they tend to answer quickly. We call that technique scanning. But for skimming is another technique to give a quick and specified reading. That means you cannot get the idea. You cannot get the theme by scanning. But to get the idea or the theme, you need to skim through. That is a technique you need to develop. Yes, come on, go on reading.
involves a process of quickly searching reading materials in order to locate specific bits of information. When scanning, you don't start from the beginning and read to the end.
You don't start reading from the beginning to end. You quickly go through information. Skimming. Yes?
Skimming is another technique whose purpose is to gain a quick overview in order to identify the main points. When skimming, you will often skip words, sentences, and paragraphs.
Yes.
To looking through material quickly to gather a general sense of the ideas, information, or topic itself. When you skim, you read through an article 3 to 4 times faster than when you read each word.
Yeah, you need to read faster and faster. Once you read 2 or 3 times, you become a fast reader. And to get the theme or the gist of it, you need to read the whole article. Yes. When you scan, you run your eyes over the text and you get the information. I think we were talking about the reading strategies, and these reading strategies will be very much helpful for your exam. You know, there are reading paragraphs in the text paper. Hope that you will develop these reading strategies and you will be able to become better readers and will answer the question papers well. Hope to meet you in another program in the near future. Good day to you. Ayubowan.